So, so is there a chance we could have you just make us a list of these trainings that you've looked up? So we have the information on how to look them up and stuff. So you know if that fraud training is, we have to do that every year, the fraud triangle training that we. That's just something I know that we were reminded of quite often last year. We, okay. So, well, Brad, now that you're here, the question kind of came up about, yes, Woodward, is that her? I forget, Tracy Woodward. Maybe you could give us a little report having what you found out.
Have to happen is all those on the Christensen side of that ditch bank are all those Russian olives, and they're thick. He says those have all got to come out and be hauled off. He says they can't just reach over there and grab dirt in between the trees. So it's not going to be easy to fix. So he was.
County dug it, right?
Long before Kelly Christensen was alive. So I'm thinking it's at least 60 years old. So the problem is the ditch is owned by nobody. The county dug it. It's on Christensen's land. It's a buffer to that subdivision, but nobody actually owns the ditch. Even though it's on their property, but Christensen say, well, it's not our ditch. You know, nobody even claims the water, by the way. Well, the problem is we talked about that, and then that's when everybody started really struggling because Christensen are saying if we dam that off, because I just said just give me this originally. It says hey, just send me some dirt down there, we'll dam that thing off, and then Kelly's going yeah, and then it's gonna all back up into our property. It's the tailwater they turn out on there. Oh well, I know. Well, that's the problem. But they say, you know, if we could find out, I would like just to. The other thing is they were claiming the Woodwards haven't always lived there, but Howard Klein on that corner has always lived there. He claimed when they put that in there to pass the perk test, they rerouted that water. That was bone dry for about 2 months so they could pass the perk test. So he's saying, Howard's saying, why can't we just reroute that water wherever it went for the perk test? Why can't we do that? I mean, if there was no water in there, it would actually possibly save that. I mean, the fence is going to fall in is the problem. The fence is going to fall in. Because I just talked to Howard this week too, and I just said, well, we're going to sue somebody. Who are you going to sue, Howard? You know, who are you going to sue? I mean, no, you know, it's a ditch that nobody claims is on somebody else's property.
No.
It's not has regular water in it. They turn water out, tell water into it. So
Yeah, it's not an irrigation ditch. It's a drain ditch,
drain ditch.
and it's deep and really always a little bit of water in it, just groundwater.
Like the day we were in there was a trickle of water, maybe an inch in the bottom. There's days they send me pictures, and it's roaring down through there. It's 3 feet deep, but it's really random. It's not like, you know, I don't know. It's not an easy fix. Jared's scratching his head, just going, "Yeah, we can do it," but all those trees have got to be tore out and hauled away. We can't just, you know, tear them out on Christensen's property. Farms. So there's not an easy fix. You can't pipe it because you have to have an engineer, right? So that was the other thing. Let's put some pipe in there, just put dirt over the top of it. Well, that's the engineer. So I mean, that's probably what, 20, 30,000.
Well, the good, I don't know what I couldn't hear you, Ryan, but well, I don't think they care. I mean, it's not hurting them. It's not.
They don't care. It's on the back of their property.
Yeah,
they did not dig the ditch.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so if I have a tree on my property and my tree is hurting the property next to me and I don't care, and it causes damage, then I'm liable for the damage, no?
Christensen's, I think, could argue.
I mean, if you say I don't care
Find
about
the
the ditch, then there's.
The frustrating the deal about is that Tracy Woodward is extremely aggressive. Last year, this has been going on for a year now. She talked to every single person. Wilson Irrigation says it's not their water. She talked to every single person. She talked to the county. Oh yeah, I can see that ditch. Yep. I don't know. We didn't dig it. We have no. And then come all the way back around, and the county says we dug the ditch.
Well, I think it's been quite a few years. How long's Tracy lived there? I think they've had.
A while, but they've been working hard on it for a year.
Yeah.
I think we met down there.
Sure,
last
we
spring,
did.
a
Yeah,
year
we
ago
did.
this spring. So we could just put dirt in it, but it's going to back up. I would like to, if it can be turned out, or put another head gate in there where it turns down another direction, it would at least save something.
Yeah, I think the best way to appreciate what Brad's explaining is just go look at it. Just to go over there and just go see what it's like.
Every single person's gone down there, looks at it, and goes, "Yeah, fence is going to fall in."
Right.
Every single person, they just kind of shrug their shoulders and sure enough. I mean, the fence posts the bottom, the concrete on the bottom of the fence post is showing on like 3 of the fence posts. It's already tipping, and you know, the more water that goes down the ditch, the more it erodes out. And it's only those 2 houses. It goes all the way to 5500 South. But somebody's dug that out along the way between those 2 houses. It turns the corner and comes in there. What's the address, mailman?
These homes are,
Catch basin is there.
Converting it into the storm drain system someplace up above.
It's on a dead end where that catch basin is, those 2 houses between the dead end and the catch basin is. And it's only been dredged out right there. All the rest of it's got like a 3-foot buffer on the back of the fence. well, it's the two houses, it's actually Klein's. Yeah. Right, it's right there. It's right there. See, that's that catch basin right there.
Hubbard's has a lot of water in it.
These two houses right there. So the canal comes down right there and turns, and it's been dredged out between these two houses.
You and Jared talked about that too, right? But
First, to bring conclusion to the other topic, there's no easy answer because the water that goes into those ditches are created upstream somewhere. And so they're the ones that technically prevent the flooding. How do you identify who they are and how do you make them? They had two requests through Roy, but petitioning Roy to take property out of Hooper. Areas
just west of.
west of 4,300. Kind of informally, 4,300 is the, although it's not stone because there are some that, but to aggravate the problem would, but at any rate, they've made a request to Roy and property out of Roy.
Correct, right, south.
So you may get individual contacts, you may, here it's hard to know just what.
Well, we responded and said there's been a lot of not only time spent, money spent in trying to get a good, clean boundary along there. Because there was some ground that was east of that. I think we did.
Hidden.
So
Talking about where Jones is, that was a,
Upset because it was changing their livestock.
So anyway, we responded and said we've done that. So right today, we're not in favor of annexing that. And especially after hearing about what they did in your neighborhood there, Brad, with that property that is part of Roy that jogs down on. And we did,
On the west side of 43.
yeah. On,
triangle piece there, northwest corner. from the
What
street.
that does, all the other property owners saying, oh, well.
they rezoned it from density to very high density. Well, there's actually a very in front of that too, Brett, very high density. And then they want to use our street, Hooper Street outlet back. What I heard during the presentation, they said that was a county road, but that's incorrect. It's a Hooper It's a Hooper cul-de-sac, not a stub street. Anything like that. It's just a cul-de-sac. Okay. Well, it is 7 o'clock. So our work session, and welcome everyone here to our city council meeting, Thursday, May 20th, 2020. And ask Councilmember Cox if he would lead us in a pledge of allegiance. Following that, Councilman Hill.
Father, we're thankful for the opportunity we have together as a community in our city council meeting this evening. We're thankful for the bounteous circumstances in which we live and which bring us together. We're thankful for our community, thankful for those who live among us, and grateful for the principles which we share. We're thankful for all the bounteous blessings which are around us, and we ask for thy continued hand to guide us and lead us and protect us. We ask for blessings of moisture, that the clouds will open and we can receive moisture to lessen our drought that we're going through at this time. We're thankful for the lessening of the pandemic. We're grateful for the brilliant minds who have created a vaccine to help us overcome the pandemic, and grateful for the reopening of our state and our nation, and for the opportunity to see, and I'm thankful for all our many blessings. We pray for a good meeting this evening as we discuss the agenda items and help us to come to consensus and agreement with all that we do in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Well, thank you. Had a chance to look at the meetings from, or look at our minutes from the last meeting on May 6th. Any corrections or amendments that not, we would entertain a motion to have motion and a second discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, at this time on the agenda, we will ask council members if there are any conflicts of interest or disclosures. Also received a copy of financial report from March and April. Have any questions on those? Mentioned earlier, that's quite a handful of paper months. Don't even have to. Okay, at this time on the agenda, we will Open it up for citizens' comments. Have a comment, we would ask that you come up to the microphone, state your name, your address, and then limit your comments to 3 minutes. Also, limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Good evening, council. My name is Joshua or Blake Maragoni. Live at 5990 West, 5350 South in Hooper. Kind of interesting. I'm gonna make a comment on one of the agenda items that we haven't seen yet, the presentation that we're gonna watch today. I reviewed the material that was put on the website, and there's a couple things that really bothered me about this presentation that we're gonna watch tonight. I understand this isn't an action item, and we're not voting on it or anything like that, and it's not an approval or anything like that. And I have nothing against the soccer community. I don't have anything against all these young men in their uniforms behind me, or anybody that enjoys a sport. What I don't like is when I read that proposal, it seemed like a real candy-coated proposal of we'll give the city 7 acres of land. In response, you let us build houses on 0.15 acre lots, less than a quarter acre, less than any acreage required for any of our zoning in Hooper. Sure, we'd get a park out of it. Park could be maintained by a private organization. Those are pluses. But I can tell you from what I see, the citizens of this community don't want this type of development. We don't want these tiny lots, houses on tiny lots. Some of the things in the letter that was submitted to the council says this would certainly be a benefit to the Hooper families that drive their children long distances to play soccer in another city. I don't play soccer, so I might be ignorant on this topic. But West Haven, Roy, Clearfield, Syracuse, Clinton, very close communities. I shop there every day. That's where we have to go for groceries. I don't think that's considered driving a long distance to play soccer. I understand there's probably tournaments and things like that that are much further away. We have a bunch of soccer fields here. See kids playing on these soccer fields all the time. We have another park that we don't use for hardly anything. Maybe we could put some soccer fields on that if we needed to. Also says in that letter that this concept is a better advantage to the community to have a park rather than cookie cutter half-acre lots that eliminate open space. That's a direct quote. I asked why this land was ever requested as a rezone of R2 from R1 if we don't want cookie cutter half-acre lots. It was requested as a rezone. Part I question the most is the part where it says that we have researched a new state law allowing city councils throughout the state to create warranted exceptions. I added this to development agreements because that's what it's talking about when it is in the best interest of the public. Basically using this House bill and the development agreement to allow building lots of a tiny nature, 6,600 square feet. I think my front yard's 6,600 square feet. And it's not big enough. But to add this as an exception, so the city council can do this as a legislative matter. I read that as a way to pass up the planning commission, pass up the normal concepts of city government to jam something through and jam these tiny little house lots through. Luckily, in that same law that's not mentioned in this letter is the part that says that can't happen. So that's very good that they wrote that in there. And then in the next section, section B3, that it says that that can't be used in that way. Makes me wonder why Mr. Buse put that in his proposal if he had read the entire thing. Once again, I understand that this is a presentation. It's not a proposal. It's not an action. We're not voting on anything today. And I also want to reiterate that the people of this city do not agree with this type of development, no matter how it's candy coated. If I were to come up here and present a different concept where this property stays as a pasture or we develop it in 1 acre lots, I'll bet you I'd win that argument. Thank you for your time.
My name is Jason Tonioli. I'm at 4988 West, 4900 South. I feel like I kind of started this thing about 3-4 years ago, trying to figure out how to get soccer fields. I've been coaching for 14 years now. There is a lack of fields, and I can tell you as a coach,
most of the fields that we have to play on, we go out to Weber County Fairgrounds, we go around here. The fields are not maintained. There'll be divots and the kids can hurt themselves on it, not maintained well. I introduced Dell, you and I met, daughter or granddaughter plays on our soccer teams. And I was able to introduce you to the UYSA group. They created what's called the legacy fee. Basically, everybody in the state pays, and all of that money has to go towards fields. As I talked to UYSA, they cannot find, they are like dying to please partner with cities or anybody that has land so they can fields. Crazy thing with this is they will build the field, pay for all of it, and they will maintain it. So I don't care where fields go, but I'd love to have one in my community so I don't have to drive 20 minutes or 30 minutes to go to games if I can help it. Same thing for practicing. I practice with my team and have for 10 years over at Hooper Park. When it comes to the size of the lots, I live on a 3rd acre lot, so I hope I'm a lesser person for not having an acre, but I think we keep a really good on. My first home was on, I think, a 0.14 acre lot up in Ogden. Kept that house really nice. And frankly, I'm trying to build a house right now. And the hardest thing for me, the houses are getting so expensive that I don't know, kids, there's no way they're going to be able to. There was, if it's 1/4 acre, 1/2 acre, or 1/3 acre, or whatever, or even smaller than that, I'd love to see some opportunities to have houses. But if I'm in your shoes and I've got somebody from the soccer state says, here's $400,000-$500,000, we want to build these fields, and yeah, I'm all for it. The thing I worry most about, all of the houses that it seems like we build lots of houses, and yes, there's parks, but want to have houses, or do we want to have like hey, there's a really nice park here that's going to get maintained, taken care of. For me, I'd rather have a couple of small houses that have a backyard on a soccer field that they can have like a acre lot. As a resident, I like acre lots. I like 1/2 acre lots, and I got a lot of people at 3rd and 4 acre lots that I take too, as long as people take care of it. So all I would request is, as you guys are approving this, don't pass up on opportunities to have somebody else come and basically pay for builds and take care. I don't know how it can go wrong. I've been down, there's 14 fields right now. Most of the soccer group is at the state cup. Okay, wave at me. I'm not sure how this works. So I came here on my birthday to do this. This is not where I want to be on my birthday, but I feel like I started it. I want to get it going. I'd love to see some soccer fields. Thanks.
If I go over, just say, hey, dummy. Hey, dummy, you're long-winded. Fine. Grateful for the opportunity to be here. In full disclosure, I'm not a Hooper resident. I did marry somebody from Hooper, and I do have ties here for the past 28 years. My in-laws live just down the street. My name's Rhett Bonham. I'm here representing Rampage Youth Organization. It's a soccer club in the state. We have currently, under our membership organization, we have about 17, it varies, anywhere between 1,500, 1,700 kids that play soccer. And about 30% of those kids are in Hooper. In the soccer world today, what we're facing is a shortage of green grass to play on. Quality green grass. We'll settle for anything. I play on fields in Roy that are atrocious, but we play there because we have to, because there is no space left to play. Soccer is the fastest growing youth sport in the state currently. We see growth within our own club of about 10% a year. The state sees even greater growth than that. We're always in competition for green space. If you would be willing to do this, and I understand it's an offset, right? You give up the less density for higher density for a park that normally the city would have to maintain. This is an opportunity to have the soccer community return to Hooper green space to use. Green space to use. State will maintain it. The state association will pay to have it maintained. It's a wonderful opportunity. My day job takes me in front of cities all the time. I get the opportunity to stand in front of councils and deal with proposals, trying to get different land agreements passed. And very rarely do we ever see where where the city can gain something essentially for nothing. The land is being donated. Separate organization is going to maintain it. They're going to do the infrastructure. They're going to foot the bill to put the park in. I get it. It's painful sometimes that we have to give up giant lots to see that kind of thing happen. But from somebody who spent the last 20 plus years, hey, idiot, I would appreciate it if you'd at least consider it and take the time to evaluate it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kelly Taylor. I live at 3609 South 500 West in Hooper. I'm building a new house right next to where Brad wants to put this in. I don't want soccer fields in there. I don't want to listen to the kids scream all day long. I go home, I want to have some quiet. And the subdividers will tell you whatever they want to hear to get it. Like the last one that Brad did, the irrigation system. We had it all worked out so it had worked right, and it's never worked yet. We're still fighting the irrigation system. They'll tell you whatever they want. You tell, the council tells them this is what you got to have. They approve it. And then they put cul-de-sacs that turn around in people's yards instead of on the roadways where they belong. I'd rather see something for the community that's been out here for 30, 40 years, somewhere for horses and trails like that, than these guys that come in and want to build smaller houses. And the city comes in, we have to widen our road now. I got to give up some of my property for the road because the contractors come in and build all these houses. So people's giving up their property and stuff to accommodate these people. And all the subdividers think about is how much money they can make off of it. We already got 2 areas here that's got soccer fields and that. It's time we have something for the equestrian people and stuff. We have walking trails. The people walk in the roads. They don't even use the trails. You got sidewalks in the subdivisions. They walk up the middle of the road. They don't go down the sidewalk. So we need to look at what the other part of the community, not the ones that's moving in that wants half or quarter acre lots. I don't care if they're half-acre lots or acre lots or whatever, but every time you build a subdivision, them roads get wider and wider, and somebody's got to give up for these people for whatever they want. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other public comments, we'll close the public comment part of our agenda and move into our city business. Item A under city business, this discussion on new training requirements for planning commissions and councils. Heather went over that with us during our previous meeting. So we'll just forego having you review that with us again.
May I make a motion that we change our agenda around a little bit? I'd like to move that we move the soccer discussion to our next agenda item and have the job discussion after that, just so we can, because that job discussion could be a while and it seems like most people are probably here to talk about soccer. So I'd make the motion that we flop item 2 and item 3 on our agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to move item C up to item B and item B down to item C under city business. Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that? So all those in favor? Are there any opposed? Okay, so we'll move to item C, a concept presentation for a subdivision proposal with soccer fields from Brad Buse and Lewis Myers. Also Michelle Wixom, who will be representing the Utah Youth Soccer Association. And may I just remind everybody that this is just a presentation. That's all it is. There'll be no actions taken. We're just here to view a presentation on this. This does not forego any normal processes as far as development in Hooper City. The reason this was put on the agenda, because if council members want to have something put on an agenda, they can request that. So that is the case for tonight. So having said that, at this time, we would invite Brad Buse to come up, or Lewis Myers, or both of you, however you want to present this, the group here.
First, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to at least present this, because it's something that I don't think Hooper's done before, and we wanted to get kind of a feel for where you are on things and questions and concerns that you have, so we can proceed with it or not. Begin with, I'd like to maybe just turn the time over to Michelle Wixom. She's with the UYSA, Utah Youth Soccer Association, and let her explain to you what their role will be in this situation. Then thereafter, I'll come back up. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Michelle Wixom and I represent Utah Youth Soccer. What our role in this project is to actually develop and maintain these fields out of pocket from us, not require any input from the city, but this would also be an open park for the city outside of our standard season gaming league. So that means that the public would be use the park for picnics, hang out, to wander around and just enjoy that open green space. We collect a $40 fee from every player that is registered in the state of Utah. That money is then divvied out to the zip code that those players live in. And that's how we want to spend that money. And what's so exciting here is that the cost to build these fields can be paid for by the players that live in this area. So this one is going to be 100% funded by the kids that live in Hooper, or the kids play on that live in Hooper. That means their families' home games are here. Families don't have to drive all the way across into Ogden and Roy to play all of their games. Everybody local, which means that grandma gets to come, grandpa gets to come, and everybody is here. So we're really excited for this project, and we hope that you'll take the time to consider what they're putting forward and to consider that it will keep more people here within the city and allow families to have more space to play. That's what growing families need. Thank you, guys.
Maybe there are some
You were going
questions.
to ask me questions. Love it.
Michelle, I have a question. If you don't know, maybe Jason can give the answer, but Jason referred to the number of kids that were part of that organization. And then I think maybe he was referring to, somebody referred to a number of kids involved. Maybe it was a Rampage.
Yeah, so currently registered in a competition soccer program. So this is not going to include your U10 and under kids. Those are all of our little bitties. Those are just considered kind of our recreation kids. Those older kids, we currently had 307 registered players in Hooper as of last. So if you add in any of the youngers or the recreations or the academy programs, we're looking at somewhere between 450 to 500 total. A lot of the kids.
So are these standard size soccer fields? I mean, regulation size soccer
So we
fields?
would, yeah, we would have one full-size field and the other area would be smaller side fields to allow those younger kids that are in the recreation programs to have a place to play as well. So the only cities that we actually are paying currently to maintain the fields are out in Provo, and those are in combination with the Intermountain Hospital. So if your kids have ever had to drive out to play on that beautiful grass field out there, that one is maintained by Utah Youth Soccer. So the Legacy Fields program, we started collecting a budget for this 4 years ago. So we're only so far in, and we took that year off. Pandemic, didn't want to increase fees on people, financial issues. So this is only the 4th year of our program, which We've attempted to partner with a couple of them. Riverdale City was the last, and then that landslide came and it caused a lot of issues with the city looking to partner with anybody to put that park in right there. Yep. Yep. Yes. Yes. Field striping, goals, maintenance, trimming of trees if we do put in trees and things like that around the area. The only thing that we would ask if the city wants it to be an open use park is if they plowed it in the winter because we don't play soccer in the winter. No, that one has porta potties that are brought in for the. Yeah.
You ever considered turf fields instead of grass?
Well, turf is wonderful. The cost of that in this area wouldn't make a lot of sense. Have to replace it within 15 years and you'd be out somewhere be $400,000 to $1 million just to put that one turf. That's, they can do it and their fields are so great to play on, but our little bitties get stuck in grass. So we're hoping to make them some better quality fields. Yeah, so our season in the spring runs from mid-March to the end of May. And then in the fall, start the 3rd week of August and run through, normally it's somewhere between October 30th and November. Well, we don't play in the summer. They're tournaments. Yep. We maintain it the same way we would, and that would allow it to be public. Yep. And then play games from about 4:30, 5 o'clock to 8 in the evening. And that's Monday through Friday. And then Saturday we would run all day and we don't run league games on Sunday. So all of those hours outside of our standard time would be open.
Lights?
No.
Other lights?
You want to light that field right next. That would just, nobody would like us. We do. There's a couple areas in here that have been used. Hooper City isn't the best city to work with to maintain, as we've had to bring in restroom, like the porta potties and things to have those agreements to use the space. And so part of the reason that we're so excited to partner with is this would allow us to have a space and open up some of this other space for other sports programs.
Other questions?
Questions?
Up to 500 kids, parents.
Yeah. A lot of those, I could get the numbers for you if you're interested in an email as to how many of those are same families so that you could get more of an idea based on a traffic study, how much would be coming in. Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yep, we've done all of that bookwork prior, which is what we actually, how we came across the number to set up for our legacy. So we have built the program based on those numbers so that we can continually not maintain the fields that we're developing, but can continue to develop more fields within all of those regions. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so we are split up into regions, 6 regions across the state. Every single kid pays that money. And while we try to keep all of that money within their actual region, and then get out from their region into their actual zip. So there are additional funds that can be put into places. Like if we came into Hooper City and we're going, okay, it's actually going to cost us more than we anticipated here. There are going to be more associated with X, Y, and Z. They would then budget to pull that from a different, essentially a different account, and then go back in and repay that once this. question?
Just one other
Yeah.
one. So on parking,
Yes.
would there be tournaments out here? And
No, this one is just a two-field complex, although it may be used for a tournament that's in the area, like if they decide to host one, they may use that as. A lot of times they don't because there's only, one field in the location. It makes it a little tricky. And if they did decide to do that, you would just have the one game every 2 hours. So you wouldn't have like ask 540 full hours.
Are there, go ahead, Cindy. So are there any amenities that would draw people to use that park? Not during soccer time?
A lot of that depends on what you guys are willing or want to do within that area, right? For wanting the walking path and things like that in the area and the trees and the added, right? So most of this comes down to, okay, what is it that you guys are really looking for your public and the people outside of the soccer community? Because most of what we know is soccer, which means we love big open grass fields. But if there does go, okay, the city, our members and what our people are asking for is X, Y, and Z, how can we incorporate that into the plan? That would be something we would love to work with you guys on. So this is the question as to what you guys are going to want with that land. If it's donated to us, obviously it's just going to stay with us and we're going to maintain it forever because soccer is the fastest growing sport in the nation. We're not getting smaller anytime soon. So we're not anticipating dropping maintenance on this ever. We anticipated this program to provide fields, not for us now. We actually didn't anticipate being able to build fields for the first 5 to 10 years. We anticipated having to spend $3 or $4 million per location to buy ground. And that's kind of where our budget is. And so the idea that something could be donated to us and we're just paying to develop it and maintain it is very feasible. And we can go over the financials from that one as we get further down the line. Yeah, you guys.
Just quickly, and I think most of you understand this, I wanted to have some open space, and I didn't see anywhere in any ordinance Hooper has where it's really promoted very well. The land conservation open space in chapter 3 has been on the books, I know, probably for 10 or 12 years, and no one's used it. We looked at it and tried to figure out how to use it, and we knew it's going to probably have to be tweaked. And when the soccer people came to us, we thought, free park, free maintenance, open space. But we didn't know how to get Hooper there. So we called Jordan, who was a state property rights ombudsman. He told us about House Bill 409 and said, here's a way it could happen. Basically, we would begin, and we're not even at that point right now, with a development agreement on the front end instead of on the back end, and get all the bugs worked out. And then we'd go through the approval process like any other subdivision with the commission a couple of times and with the council at least a couple of times. But we just want to get, before we got this whole process involved, we want to just get kind of a feel if there's interest in doing that, because we can just do half-acre lots there and it'll be just another half-acre lot subdivision with no open space. We do have the option of, with that land conservation, of doing quarter-acre lots, but they would only have about 5 acres of ground available if we did that, and the soccer people aren't interested in that, and so we're not exactly sure the city would want to put a park there, and with the expense, so we tried to find a way where maybe it could happen if something the city wanted to do. So it's kind of how this came about. I think the question has to be asked is, do we want open space in Hooper, and how are we going to do it? And we just thought this is a great opportunity where an organization that's well put together and well funded could put in the park, we donate the ground, okay, and they maintain it. And let's say, I think Cindy's question was good. What happens if they fall apart? Well, Hooper owns 7 acres of ground. You can do what you want with it. You could sell it. Or you could put a rodeo arena in it, you know, for Kelly and them. So, you know, it's the downside is you're going to own 7 acres of ground if they happen to fall apart. I think it's such a growing organization. I don't perceive that happening. So I've talked to 3 people. Well, I talked to Kelly, and Kelly voiced his opinion tonight, which is fine. I'm glad he's here because we want to hear what everyone wants. Larry Christensen would love a park there. Steve Austin lives there. He'd much rather have a park than homes there. I talked to Kim and David Buse. I just talked to Kim. Now, I'm not exactly sure where he stands, so I don't dare comment on where she is. We'd be happy. I would think that if you talk to people in the subdivisions to the north, they would love to be able to grab a sidewalk and walk to some open space somewhere, or their kids get on a bike and ride over to where there's a park. So that's our intent, and I think really what it really comes down to is, you know, does it make sense to allow about 7 or 8 more lots there so the city can have a park? That's, I mean, after all is said and done, that's kind of where we're at. I would appreciate you asking me any questions, concerns. I'd like to talk to you all individually and see kind of where you're at, because I don't want to, we don't want to go down the road too far and say, no, we don't want to. I really tried to commit the soccer folks that they're going to stay with us. They're not going to back out the last minute. They're looking for ground, looking for these opportunities everywhere. And I don't know where that stands, but this is before us now. So if you have any questions or concerns, you know, I'm not exactly sure how we proceed, because I don't know if Reed's had a chance to read that. Have you had a chance to read that bill yet, Reed? It's the one, it's.
I think the way this would require a change in.
No. Well, no, if you read the state law now, it allows the cities right now, it's it's State Bill 409 10-98-530 development agreements. And they just passed it this year. It allows the city, okay, to, if something comes that they feel of their benefit, then they can make an exception, okay, without being obligated to offer that same opportunity for another developer / landowner. Okay, well, that's not how it's explained to us from state ombudsman, or I wouldn't even be here tonight. I asked him if there's a way the city could do it, and this is what he gave me. So that's why we're here. No, we didn't, no, you don't have to open up the master plan to do it. It doesn't have to be part of the master plan. If you read the bill, if he'd have told me that, we wouldn't take the time we would just put in half-acre lots, because it'll take us probably a couple of years to get it through that way. And I don't think it makes sense for us to wait that long. So I'd like maybe you to have a discussion with you, and maybe if I'm wrong, or you know, then tell me. But I'm just going off of what we were told.
Question would be if doing the master.
Well, it could, okay, but he told us that it's not required, you know, because so that's something that, you know, we need to find out, because I think the master plan's dated. I think they're still waiting another year before that's going to be through. Is that correct? Is there a target date to have that finished, Dale? The master plan?
Sorry, Brad, didn't hear the question.
What's the target date to have the master plan redone?
You know, on June 1st, they're going to bring in a plan. You know, that's just kind of a way of not necessarily an overlay, but just something going to present to the city council book. Got all the everything involved, that everything involved that we've collected, all the information, data that we've collected from the surveys, put that into a. I think towards the end of the year, next year, be
So it's going to take about 18, 20 months.
total.
Okay. So if that's if that's the main reason I want to come here is to have this discussion and have Reed look at it and see if it's even possible. According to the state property rights ombudsman, he said it can be done. So if we have to wait 2 years,
The question though really is, I'll have to read the bill to see if,
you want, I got a copy here if you'd like to.
point is, when you've got, you had to go back and ask them to. Oh. Bring that.
Well, I basically it can be done. Okay. And basically, it's brand new. And so it's something that hasn't happened. I think it's a boon for the cities. If something comes to the city that you want to do and say it's something other than this, you have to wait 5 years for a master plan and another, 18 months to get it completed, and then another year to get it approved. By then, the soccer people have found, another piece of ground. And so if there's something that city wants to do, they can legally, according to what I explained to me, it can legally be done at any time. Now, if the city chooses, well, we want to wait the master plan to get completed, that those people, you folks will vote on that. Okay. But that's why I wanted to present it tonight to see where that would be. So,
I agree with Reed. I mean, no better time than when the general plan's
mhm.
over to discuss a topic like this. I mean, to get public input is invaluable on something like this. Do you want it? Do you not want it? What could we do better? What could it look like? I mean, that's why we do a general plan. And I mean, what a great opportunity to have a discussion is right now. Well, while you're trying to push this, I mean, not push it, but develop this concept. So I mean, that makes sense to me. Should be a general plan topic of discussion.
And if that, I'm gonna have to talk to my partner. If that's a route you want to go, I think we're dead in the water. It's,
Well, and
But-
that's why I like the concept, is because how else is the city gonna obtain open space? Short of buying it on our budget, how do you obtain open space other than working with a developer in this concept or buying it outright? What's the other options? I can't think of any, right?
When I hear the citizens speak, for our town and open space, it was interesting because I was quizzing my wife today before I left, and I was trying to run things through her and say, all right, you're a citizen of Hooper, right? But she is. And so I was talking, I said, what does open space mean to you? And it was interesting because we have different opinions in my house on what open space means. Surprise, right? In your own house. And so we talked that through a little bit, and we said, well, is open space parks? Is open space pastures? Is open space acre lots? What makes open space? And so as we talked that through, you know, it was interesting. Probably our definition would be different. I said, do you like acre lots that are run down and look like junkyard? Well, not if I live next to it. Like for me, I don't like curb and gutter. I think curb and gutter takes away from open space or the country feel, right? But you have to have certain things for the city to function and to drain land water and all those things. So there's a lot of variables that come into this whole thing. I think that, Ryan, you're right, though. The question is, and it's a great discussion to have, you know, during this period of time. It doesn't help out, you know, these folks much as far as timeline, but the reality is, what are we going to do for the future to have open space? Because, you know, there was a thing on last night, hey, somebody's selling 100 acres for $5 million, and I can't believe it, we're gonna lose. Well, I don't know if any of those citizens were willing to go write a $5 million check to own the land and keep it filled. Probably not, because none of us, you know, I don't have it. And then I thought, let's figure out what taxes on that would be. Let's say taxes were 30 or 40 grand a year. What if I inherited that? Would I have 30 or 40 grand a year to pay the taxes on the 100 acres that Dad left me when he passed away? No.
Okay, so do you have any questions? Any more questions for Brad? And then we can bring the discussion among the council rather than have Brad standing there while we're discussing.
I'm happy to stand if you want, or I'll go sit down, or I'll leave.
I mean, do you know what I
Probably leave,
mean?
I'll leave.
I mean, I think we're,
Not to verify anymore, if that's
Well-
where you're at, Rick.
I do have a question.
for Brad, that, okay, so maybe we could direct them and then we can bring it back, council, for discussion.
Thank you. Soccer. Why you couldn't let it take on the storm water and biofilter the storm water in the soccer. I think that would be a possibility, but you know, that's down the road. So, or we'd put in a detention base, but it makes sense to biofilter that water and keep it there. When you got that big of an area, there are some subdivisions, the one in Mayor Slaterville, that's what they do. Whether work here or not, the engineers have to figure that out. Yes. With this plan, we were going to put in the pickleball courts and just donate them to the city. The developer, yeah. That'd be part of the development agreement. Well, there'll be a 2 or 3 garage units there. Uh-huh. And that's something that we could mitigate with a development agreement. Say, okay, all the homes, you know, they're gonna have 3 or 4 cars there. We don't want them parked in the street all the time. Then say, if you want 3-car garage, we'd entertain that requirement. We don't want a bunch of cars parked in the street. Okay, so typically the front yards, and there's not much grass. It's usually just a wide driveway. Well, it's because the house is too close to the street. These would have the same setbacks, I think, as most homes in Hooper required setbacks. What will be small will be the backyard. Backyard will be pretty small. You know, we're not going to force people to come out and buy small lots. You know, people that want to do it will buy them. If no one wants to buy them, then it won't happen, but it happens. There are plenty of people like that. Plus they'll have access to a 6.5 to 7 acre park backyard. You know, that's right. I totally agree with you. I mean, I don't know. I think one thing that the city's done that's good is you're allowing mother-in-law apartments. Okay, instead of building a bunch of apartment complexes, you got a mother-in-law apartment, and I think that helps mitigate some of the, even though it may be rented, you know, that helps. But as far as affordable housing, when I was on the council, we did 1/4 acre lots there, east of Freedom Elementary. Thought we've taken care of that. And they cost every bit as much there as the ones did down at, the old State Farm. So it didn't work. So no, we're just going to build homes more or less like the adult community in Hooper that look somewhat like that. That's our conception of it right now anyway. So the houses are close together, but people that buy them don't care. People live a 1/4 mile away, don't care either. They're happy because there's a park.
So Brad, I just had a question about the math, I guess. From the plat, it shows 36 lots
Yes.
conceptualized there.
Uh-huh.
So that's including the additional 7 that would require to be.
No, that's a total of 36.
So the 7 additional lots.
Basically, if we utilize the overlay ordinance, we get about 28 or 29 lots according to the ordinance.
Which is half acre zone, correct?
Yes, that's half acre zone with the overlay on it. Okay, I can explain that to you if you want, but
So that's, isn't it a 14-acre field?
14.3 acres. We didn't have it surveyed yet, but that's what this county says.
So here's the math I come up with. So I'm glad you mentioned that because I come up with about 15 acres. So if you take the 7 lots from 36, you get 29 lots. Times half an acre, that's 15 acres. So if you add the additional 7 lots to the 29 to get the 36 in that same math and do the division, you come up with between a 1/3 acre and a 0.4 acre lot with 7 additional lots, not a 0.15.
But there's no open space. There's no set. Right now, it's 6.8 acres is what it looks like will be donated. We don't know what exactly that is. But with that math, you got to take out the 6.8 acres.
So the actual spot that the homes are on are only 8 acres, 36 homes on 8 acres.
Correct. Along with the street. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's, yeah, that's a lot more dense than.
Well, they're about 6,600 square foot lots. almost identical to the ones over here. If you want to see kind of get a visual of it, you can look at those over there. It really would. The only difference would be a park behind it. And we'll donate a couple of pickleball parts to park city.
The only other thing I had was, we had two fields, one regulation size for the older kids and one smaller one. I don't know what the age cutoff is for the smaller one, but would it make more sense to have two larger fields? I mean, you look out here and that's all we have is the one. When they play the smaller, they have to put up cones. Play, I don't know, is there demand for this? Two bigger fields.
Like,
Just,
That's why we actually look. That'll accommodate X size and accommodate X time, allow less. That instead of having to run, what we would normally do is provided large and increase the amount of people that traffic. Yeah. Once provided this our park a lot less.
Looks like from the numbers, there's about 200 kids that would, in Hooper right now, that live in Hooper that would play on the smaller field, and about 300 youth that would play on the larger, based on the number she gave.
what's the age cutoff? 6, 7?
For the little field?
Yeah.
That when they're.
Okay.
Well, they start academy kids, what, 5? Yeah. 11, yeah. Like on those.
well, we're not exactly sure. If it were an HOA, the park would probably be included with the HOA just for irrigation purposes, to keep that simpler. So Hope Irrigation would only have one bill, and then any water they use for the small lawns on each home, okay, they would probably pay that association would pay the city. But I don't know for sure, Cindy, how that would work. It is an option. We could do an HOA and not have a public park. But I want a public park because I want the citizens to use it. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. See, one idea, and it's just an idea, don't hold me to this, is one thing nice about an HOA, we could mandate and make all the front yards really nice, and they could be maintained by a maintenance crew, maybe the same crew that the soccer organization's using. So they come in, mow the park, trim whatever they got to trim, and mow the little pieces of ground. And so the people live there don't have to buy a lawnmower for just a little small piece, or we got 7 or 8, contractors mowing it. I think it makes sense if we could do it. Whoever maintained the soccer, maintain their yards. And if that happens, it'd probably be best to have an HOA, but I don't know for sure on that. Okay, but if it were an HOA, the way I want to do it now, I still want the public park. We could say, no, we want this to be a private park. Only the citizens of the community could use it. But Lewis and I don't want that. We want it to be for the surrounding area. So that's the route we want to go.
Other questions?
Okay. Sit down. You guys could, if you have any more questions, or if you want to call me, I'll try to give you an idea. It's just conceptual. I understand right now.
What's the bill number of the?
Yes.
Well, I think one thing that would be critical is to have a public hearing. See, everyone in that neighborhood, no one was really notified of this meeting tonight. No one has ever really looked at any type of concept plan or anything like that. So we would want a public hearing, as Brad indicated, and as you're indicating. Is this something the public really wants? Is the citizens of Hooper want something like this, even in that neighborhood over there? Well, that's something we would want to address, to notify all the neighbors over there and have a public hearing on it. Right. Right.
You have to mail out the public notice.
Well, I guess that's what we can't do.
That's kind of the purpose of a public hearing is.
So actually, we can do that. We can do that in our general plan meetings. Make this a topic of conversation in our general plan meetings
Sure.
and let public people input on
Right.
it. I mean, we can do that without going through the process, right? Because we're in the middle of general plan right now.
Right.
5 years from now, we won't be. But at least you'll know. You have a conversation next time they meet for the general plan, which is when, Cindy? 2 weeks? June 1st.
Yeah, they're going to be here.
You get a consensus of the people that are here on June 1st. Hey, do we want soccer fields? I mean, you're going to have a pretty good idea how people feel about it.
Well, okay. So where are we on this presentation? That's what, are we done with the presentation, or that's all this was tonight? It's not a public hearing on this or any, a time to make decisions. We were just to have
Yeah.
a presentation. So
Right.
where are we on that?
I have one more question though, and this is just me being naive and not being around when the bill was happening with the subdivision. But why go to the smaller lots? I know you have to take some of the land away for the open space, for the fields, but why make the lots that small?
Well, it goes back down to, when I was in the council, one of the councilmen members says, well, I want you to know right now I'm for farmers. And they says, are you for farmers when they want to sell their ground? Because when they sell their ground, they want to get a fair price. Okay, if you pay $1 million for a parcel of ground and you do all the math, most cases there's not anything there with half-acre lots or acre lots for any open space whatsoever, unless people want to pay $300,000 or $400,000 for a lot. Okay, so it comes down to this, and we ask the people, do you want open space? And how are you going to get there? The only way I know of, okay, is to allow some smaller density in given areas to allow the farmers to get a fair price, the developer to get a deal, and the community to get open space. If you want large lots and open space, it doesn't work. So when people say, well, I want open space, my question is how is the city going to do it? Okay. It wouldn't bother me at all. If we could put acre lots there and still have this park there, fine. Okay. There are a lot of people out there that don't want an acre lot. And they're buying up places, they're buying places all over the state of Utah. I like an acre lot on my place, to be honest with you. I really do. And I bet you do, Lisa. And, but a lot of people don't want it. Right now, though, I've got about 1.25 acres. And I wonder what I'm going to do with all that ground. I thought I got to get everything done because it's hard to maintain. But that's a question. Open space, how do you get there? And you can't do it with large lots. Unless the city's got big pockets, can buy the ground for parks. So that's, yeah.
And this, like I said, this was a presentation tonight, put on the agenda because 2 council members wanted it on the agenda. And it's just a presentation. It's not, there's no decisions to be made, just to hear what they would like to present.
I think it's a great lead into a discussion for the general plan. You know, I mean, great topic to talk about.
Clearly, your general plan needs to.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, there's no question about that. It won't be 1.5 years. It won't be. I don't know. Already, I think there's a lot of, come June 1st, you'll see there's been a lot of progress made towards this amendment to the general plan. Any other discussion? Okay. All right. Well, we thank you for that presentation and okay, next on the agenda is to finalize a job description for Hooper City Community Development Coordinator. So I think everyone received a copy of the job description. We've been able to review that. If you have any questions, had Councilman Hill wrote some suggestions on the for a Hooper City planner, and so what's your thoughts?
Combine the two and post it.
Find the 2 and post it. You know, I agree, you know. In fact, Ryan, I think if we compare the 2, that's just what I was starting to do, is just to see.
All I got was that I don't qualify, so. Yeah, that was good.
So if we could,
So
Was.
there is a discussion on whether it's part-time. I think, Brian, we talked a little bit about, I mean, I guess my 2 cents is I think it should be full-time.
Well, my only concern is if you advertise a 30-hour-a-week job versus a 40-hour-a-week job, you're going to get a whole different type of applicant. And even
Well-
qualified applicants to that extent. And so I'm concerned about the
So,
hours. more often.
right, so we have a 4-day work. They get full-time benefits that are included.
So, I mean, it shouldn't matter the hours based on that it's a salary position, correct?
As long as the salaries are in line with what paid for that
Right.
kind of work. We don't want to be low and then have nobody qualified, really qualified.
Yeah, we-
Find out they're an expert. That's what my 2 cents is that I think that we need to make sure that we're in line with what
The going rate is. Need to be competitive.
That was one of the things I told Ryan on my way. Question was, looking at dollar range. So look, I don't live in city employment, but I live in the private sector. And right now I know that people that I could hire for $14 and $15 an hour are sitting home collecting unemployment, waiting to get paid $19 and $20 an hour. And so I looked at a position that's going to require a 4-year degree. It's going to require a whole lot of knowledge of a baseline to come in. Starting out at $19 an hour, I feel like $19 an hour, 32 hours a week. That's not paying someone very much money. I don't know, maybe the cities hire at that wage, but I think when you look at a 40-hour week, so $20 an hour or 40-hour week, right, is a little over $40,000 a year.
coming with a 4-year degree.
Coming with a 4-year degree. I don't know where people are at these days, but I can't imagine you can hire a lot for, but they work 9 months out of the year. Right?
Well,
Don't go that direction.
yeah, and we would take into consideration some experience, would take into consideration some experience that they've had too. The one thing I wanted to mention, as we've talked about, a building official. So we have a person that's working for the city right now that has passed his tests in electrical and construction, foundations. He also works in, make sure the compression tests are right for roads. So we do have someone has an interest in moving up in his not only experience, but he's taking training and passing off tests, become an inspector. And but also not only is he an inspector, but if he was ever needed to go out and jump in a snow plow, or because he's experienced at that, does all our road work now, also experienced with our sewer system. So my thought would be, why would we go outside and hire someone that would do a lot of those same things that he has shown an interest in, and just called me tonight and said on the 18th, passed off his, so he can actually start doing some of our, and
Well, that was the whole idea, was to try and get as much in-house as possible.
Sure.
Regardless of who it is, as long as they're a city employee, trying to avoid all this contracting out.
Right.
all these things
Yeah,
before.
that was the main
So
idea.
we don't have a problem with that, at least I don't.
Don't either.
I think the discussion we had is currently the city engineer contracted. They clearly have handled a large portion of planning. Them to us are the ones that do a lot of stuff. Shauna's position had done a lot of stuff kind of towards that planning. So when you look at that, there's definitely some opportunity there. I think with someone in-house, that's for that. We're paying $80,000 to $90,000 this year.
And it's important to realize that when we set the budget always has to balance. What comes in has to balance with what we pay out. So if we do contract work, not like we're paying $90,000 for contract work, going to another budget item and paying that person $90,000. He goes out and does inspections. We make sure the fees that are collected on those inspections pay what we're paying the contractor. So there's always a balance. We're not robbing from other portions of the budget to pay for contract. So I know it looks like a budget item, like we budgeted $90,000 and we're paying. It is an expense, but you have to realize, Councilman, that is not an expense that it's not real money right there. We don't have the money until we charge someone the fees for that inspection that's been done. Okay. So,
Most respectfully, I understand budgets very well.
well, I thought maybe you misunderstood when
I
you,
understand emails very well. I appreciate the input.
okay. So anyway,
How much did we set aside in our budget for this position? Was it 45, 50?
Originally, we put 70.
70 or something.
Oh, the budget we just talked about,
It was 45, I think.
45. Okay. Well, I think it depends on the qualification. If this person has 3 years' experience somewhere and a degree that qualifies.
Sure.
them, yeah, we're gonna adjust that salary a little bit, but entry level with no experience.
Coming in off the street with a, you know, hey,
Not only, yeah, there's that factor in it. We're gonna put them in school. That's part of their package.
yeah, there's no question.
That's the thing, that this person, we want them to stay. We don't want them to get all this training we're gonna give them and then bail on us in 5 years, like some other things. But anyway, I think if we just, Mayor, maybe see what you think, combine the two
Sure.
documents, send us out a copy of your final draft and let's move forward. Yeah.
Already there, let's.
I mean, I think these job functions are fluid, too, you know.
They are.
They're gonna evolve as we go down. So. Absolutely.
Whatever this is, to be right in the middle of that, putting some input in and seeing where the community is on different sides of this, because I think sometimes we bring somebody in new and they're going, oh, this is what we're gonna do. It's like, no, we've already had a firestorm about that and we're not going there. Or at least they understand that where the community has had input, you know, whatever.
Sure. No. That'll,
I'll be one.
hopefully that'll be in-house and it'll down the road a ways. After he can actually go out and inspect all that he's required. He still has to pass mechanical, heating and air conditioning. Okay, so would we need a motion on this to or- finalize the job description?
I think it's.
Motion if you want. It's not an ordinance.
We don't care. Just get it posted.
If you
Okay.
give it,
Okay.
Just get it posted.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, that being the last city business item, are there any other citizens' comments? Okay, seeing none, close that and request a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second it.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? Any opposed? So